Late Fees by Mr. Numbers. Twilight Sparkle had had a short life, but it had been incredibly busy. She couldn't even stop to take a cup of tea most days without some tentacle monster swarming from the teapot and snatching the clotted cream from the scones tray. She had been shocked at first, as she gently set the teapot back down on the table before being careful not to disturb the dolly she set it upon more than necessary, and swore to never, ever, under any circumstances, cast that tempest in the teapot spell again, except maybe for future interdimensional research, so long as she made the proper preparations and precautions, and, if Pinkie Pie asked very nicely, party tricks, because the look on Verity's face would be far too good to pass up. Well, that was a relevant point, anyway. In Twilight's short, though industrious life, she had grown so desensitized to eldritch horrors beyond mortal ken that currently she kept an extra butter knife near the tea set should the tentacle monstrosity, recently dubbed Wiggles, feel the need to have a scone with his cream as well. Being a gracious host is imperative to being a good friend. Even with that skewed sense of perspective, however, and the perpetual sense of childlike wonder at the world and ponies around her that allowed her to make friends even with abominations in her kitchenware, Twilight Sparkle found staring in naked, undisguised horror and revulsion at the pony before her. Disgust, hatred, loathing, sorrow, all of these words were entirely insufficient in conveying the Princess Twilight Sparkle's emotions at the present moment as she looked up at the victim of this horrific, inequine crime before her. Sorry it's a bit late, the stallion awkwardly chuckled, rubbing the back of his scruffy mane with a hoof. And, messy. I totally forgot I even... A bit messy! Twilight spoke evenly, building a mental dam to keep her raging torrent of emotions in check. You call this a bit messy? The stallion, for his part, looked at the floor, whether out of shame or fear it was impossible to determine. If you call this a bit messy, what in Tartarus would qualify for... He heard a plink in his head, a phenomenon Twilight would have been fascinated to observe first tooth. It was said that when enough mental effort in a particularly powerful unicorn is expended, the force can cause nearby observers to resonate in sympathy. Twilight was, however, preoccupied with being the source of that plink, a chip giving way under the burdens of the ocean of rolling emotions. Sir, she spat that honorific, coated with dripping venom, the pages are torn, and what pages still remain? At least half of them are still in there, he protested. Last time I checked, anyway. That may, then. Twilight's voice was calm once more, which Caramel decided was somehow infinitely worse. Explain the quite literal paper trail you've left behind you. He glanced behind him and gulped. He hadn't noticed that, apparently. Well, at least it's in a nice organised line. I can go and pick them up and... Assuming, one, that the breeze hasn't picked up, which I sincerely doubt, because you delivered this back to me during a scheduled electrical storm, and two, the aforementioned storm hasn't reduced the pages into grey mush. Not a fan of papier-mâché when I take it? Caramel grinned weakly, his chuckle dying in his throat as he gulped it back down, caught as if it was a large lump there. This is not something that is okay to joke about, My Little Pony! Twilight boomed in her newfound royal voice, indeed, whipping a few dry pages behind Caramel inside the library into a frenetic frenzy in the blast. Also had a pleasant side effect of giving him a rather fetching new main style. At least he thought, I'll leave a wicked corpse. This is a reference book. It's been overdue for months. Twilight drew a hoof to her chest and pushed out, as the false sitter and fellow princess had taught her many, many years ago. I hope you realise how much this will cost to replace, let alone the late fees. Caramel gulped. It says here, Twilight glanced at the library card, that this was a book on organisational abilities. She glanced up, expression deadpan. Really? I guess the lessons didn't quite sink in her. Caramel started backing slowly away to the door, to freedom, to continue living if Twilight could remain distracted for just long enough for him to... His butt pressed against something large and furry. He hadn't even heard her teleport. He whipped round and came face to face with two candles at face height and... Those aren't candles. Those are her eyes. Tell me, Caramel, The formerly purple, now flaming alicorn gazed into his fiery soul, burning his retinas in the process. "How do you plan on paying for this?" "Well, I don't have many bits." "Not for bits. How do you plan on atoning for harming a poor, defenseless book like this, you monster?" Indeed, somehow Twilight had managed to boom at the precise resonant frequency of Caramel's skull, which I can assure those of you who are not versed in physics as she, is far worse than conventional decibels. I'm sorry." "That is a start, of course," Twilight nodded, sending a few errant embers of airborne in the process. "But I'm afraid you're going to have to atone better than that, vile fiend." Vile fiend?" Caramel shuddered, too terrified to do anything about the parts of his mane that had just caught on fire, other than hope that his panic shivering somehow caused him to extinguish out of pure pity. Is that really necessary? I mean, it's just a book." "The dam broke. Well, that's a rather mild way to put it. Rather, the dam ceased to be in the most fantastical way possible. The dam didn't merely crumble as it released the emotions burdened. Oh no! It glowed white hot, momentarily, then vaporized in a puff of plasma, boiling, the seething and frothing flood behind it as it poured out, and Caramel blinked. Twilight Sparkle was gone. Where the pony had stood before her were 4 black hoof prints and nothing else. "Just a book!" Oh, that's where she was. Twilight's rage had obviously made her, for the moment, omnipresent. Today was not a good day to be Caramel. Well, yeah, Caramel stuttered. I mean, I don't think you're just overreacting. I mean, sure, I might have broken the spine, lost most of the pages, forgotten about it for months, and once when I ran out of toilet paper, I was... "Caramel, please step outside." Why?" "Because I wish to do horrible, unspeakable things to you now, and I wish to do it somewhere less flammable." "Oh," Caramel murmured sadly as he shuffled to the door. "Wait," he said, stopping momentarily. "Does that mean if I don't go outside, you won't?" Oh, yeah, I forgot you could teleport me," he said as he was suddenly aware of the fact that he was now standing somewhere where there were no witnesses that, for some reason, happened to have a bubbling bog. "Caramel Apple, I would like you to meet my good friend of mine, Wiggles. Care to meet our guest?" Celestia?" Luna murmured, as she stared at the fluorescent mushroom cloud erupting from Ponyville. "Did you at any point remember to mention the mood swings attached to the ascension?" "It appears it slipped my mind in all the excitement, sister." Celestia gently put her tea back down on the saucer with a gentle clink of the fine porcelain on porcelain. "What's got you thinking of that now, of all times?" Luna sighed a long, weary sigh. "Send Spike a package of Darjeeling, sister, and pray that it gets to her in time." Celestia raised an eyebrow. "My student is most capable, Luna. I assure you she's..." Luna turned and shook her head slightly, wordlessly cutting her off. "It's not her well-being I'm concerned for. Let's just pray she doesn't do anything she regrets." "Now, what have we learnt?" "Treat literature with the amount of respect it deserves, Princess." "Very good, little pony. I'm also very, very sorry I reacted how I did. Nurse Redheart said that I should be out by the end of the month." He turned slightly green, visible under all the bandages. Though I'm never ever going to eat calamari again," Caramel chuckled, before paling considerably. Oh no." "What? So, Caramel, I'm truly sorry. I'm not going to... I forgot I never returned the cookbook I borrowed the year before." There was an almost imperceptible eye tick on the princess, gone before you could even see it if you weren't looking for it. Caramel, however, was looking for it, and tried vainly to scoot to the opposite side of the hospital bed. I'm sure," Twilight said evenly. I accidentally deep-fried it. Twice." "Twice?" Yeah. The first time I made it catch fire, then I tried to put it out and dumped it in." I get the picture," Twilight sighed. Then she chuckled. The chuckle grew into a laugh, and then cackling. Caramel just stared, chuckling nervously. "Spike," Twilight called, and trotted out of the building. "I'm going to have a bubble bath. Bring the tea. All of it." "Wouldn't that make it taste like soap?" "Oh, Spike, haven't you ever heard of bubble tea?" She stormed out of the building, leaving Caramel desperately attempting to try to blow out the small fire that had sprung up on his hind legs' bandages.